of you who are watching the replay. Okay, so the recording is on, and we're now going to go into, let me just tune into which animal wants to talk to me. Right, before I do that, you probably see me staring at the screen, but that's because I'm just checking I've got everything, all the buttons right. Yeah. Okay, so this is my process, and I'm going to share my process with you, as well as allow the animals to speak to us this evening and share with you how to connect with them with the questions that their guardians have given to you as learners to communicate with them. Okay, so very clearly, I'm immediately drawn to Merlin. So let me just kind of also share with you what my process is here. As I'm just kind of scanning the animals, you know, I'm really able to now put aside any other agenda, you know, and my mindset and my intention is very much focused. So it's a bit like when I did a medical intuition workshop. I think last year, one of the things that I learned so well to do, and it really helped me with animal communication, is when we set our intention to communicate with an animal, it's almost as if you bring all your focus into like a laser beam. Okay, so that just really helps you to channel to the animal that wants to talk to you, or to the animal that you want to focus in. So when I was channeling into like a laser beam, literally just got stuck at Merlin's photograph. So that's how I know Merlin wants to connect with me. Okay, so I'll click on his picture and let's look at his details and his questions. So also just to let you know, with the animals in the practice den, some of them I've communicated with in the past, but it would have been a long time ago. So I haven't recently connected with any of them other than to ask their permission to have them in the practice den. So now when I'm asking Merlin about the questions that his human has for him, and how to help learners to communicate those questions with him, it's literally live that I'm doing it with him. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to share with you the process. Okay, so the little write-up about Merlin is that Merlin has lived with a person since she was 5 years old. 5 months old. Now, so the first question is, does she like the other birds she lives with? So you got a little bit of information that these other birds are in separate cages, and that she lives with Indy and Murphy. And one of them is a screamer and one of them is a talker. So just checking in with Merlin. So, okay, so she says to me, what you can try with her, explore with her. She likes the word explore. She's a bit of an explorer, she says, is that when you want to ask her how she gets on with the other birds she lives with, she wants you to expand the question into how she generally feels about other birds. So that's interesting. So the way to do it, or my process would be, I would visualize for Merlin, the other birds in her home sharing a space with her, but in separate cages. And I would just wait to see what emotions I receive, because the question is, does she like the other birds she lives with? So this feels like very much to do with her emotional, status. So you will yourself start to experience some emotions that you can then check in with Merlin to say, is this related to, birds in general sharing the same space as you, but in separate cages? And then you can expand it and say, so I know that one of the birds, the name is Indy. And then setting your intention, because you haven't met Indy and you haven't got a picture of Indy, you can say, my intention is to connect energetically with Indy, who lives with Merlin. And then just say, Merlin, can you share with me the emotion you know, when it comes to my energy as I'm connecting with Indy. Yeah, so you got to be very clear. And then you do the same with Murphy. You say, I set my intention to connect with Murphy. And then say to Merlin, I'm now connected energetically with Murphy. Can you share with me any emotions that you have, you know, when it comes to your relationship with Murphy? And then, oh yeah, and then by saying one of them is a screamer and one of them is a talker, what I do there is I'll connect with the intention. With intention, I'll connect with Indy. So I'm in the energy of Indy. So again, very focused, very, very focused, because you're being very specific here. And I'll wait to see if I either hear chatter or I'll hear screaming. Okay. And then I'll focus my energy and intention into Murphy. And I'll be very clear. I'm now connected with Murphy. And then I'll wait and say, send me either talking or send me either screaming or something else. Always be open that it doesn't have to just be what you're given in terms of, you know, the story behind it. Okay, so I hope that helps. And then the second question for Merlin is, she doesn't talk very much, but she's very observant. Why doesn't she talk more? Okay, so how would you ask Merlin that question? Perhaps the first question I would ask Merlin is talking important to you? And then I'm sensing perhaps maybe sounds. I get sounds. So I might say to Merlin, do you make sounds? Because talking is human. You know, we're expecting words from her. So I would look at that question. She doesn't talk very much, but she's very observant. Why doesn't she talk more? So I would say to Merlin, you know, is talking important to you? So what I'm doing is I'm really interested in Merlin's perspective of the question that she's being, you know, given. So if she's not talking much according to Merlin's owner, then I'd be interested to find out from Merlin, you know, what are your views about talking? What are your views about how you want to communicate? Because as far as the question is implying to me is that, you know, maybe the owner is thinking, well, she doesn't talk much, you know, how do I know how she's feeling? How do I communicate with her? I want to have a chat with her. You know, she's not very talkative. So I would be very interested with Merlin's perspective on what her views are about. I'm smiling because I can almost hear Merlin saying to me, yeah, ask me what my opinion is about like birds talking. I didn't expect her to say that to me. So, but isn't that interesting? Yeah, because what is her opinion about other birds talking? Because that actually ties in with the first question. Does she like the other birds she lives with? Because I have a feeling it's about asking her opinion about other birds and also their habits. Because when you live with other animals, you have to live with their habits as well and their characters. So ask Merlin about her opinion when it comes to communication. How does she communicate to her human family? How does she communicate with the other animals that share her home? If she doesn't use words, as in what a human can understand, does she use sounds? Does she use body language? Yeah. So it's very much about communication with Merlin. So I hope that's given you some ideas around how just a couple of questions you can actually really expand it into something. I guess it's like really finding out from Merlin's perspective. So don't get don't get in a way stuck is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Don't be confined by the questions that are set, but kind of almost look around it and almost stretch the question out to see what else you can ask, you know, that animal. Okay, so thank you to Merlin for her wisdom and her tips. Okay, so let me see if another animal wants to pop up and share with us their wisdom. Yes, you know, same with the first webinar. They're all they're all very chatty, so I'm having to really keep focused. So Archie has come up to me here now. So let's have a look at Archie's question and a little bit about Archie. So he's 1 year and 11 months. And his question from his person is, now Archie has a dog walker for 1 day a week. He goes to doggy care all day, and his person wants to know, how is Archie finding the arrangements? And then you can see that Archie's person, you know, is asking this from a place of just wanting to make sure that Archie is happy, because, you know, she's written, I just want to make sure he's happy with everything and there's a good balance of attention, walking, etc. And then the second part of the question is, please let him know that for the future, I hope to be home more, but for the time being, it will continue as it is. Okay, so just tuning with Archie. So the way to ask Archie or communicate with Archie about the daycare and the dog walking is, I will visualize, you know, from the moment so I'm going to have to make some assumptions. So I'm making an assumption that the dog walker will come to his house and he will be taken out. And for the doggy creche, either I'll visualize, you know, a person coming to pick him up, or that his mum will take him to the dog creche. So I'll actually start from that point, because to me, it's not just about how he feels when he's being walked by the dog walker. It's not just about how he feels when he's at the dog creche. It's about the time when he's at home, perhaps waiting to be picked up, to go for his walk, to go to the creche, and then finding out about his time at the creche, who he meets, what happens, to the time it's for him to come home, and how he feels when he's home. Making, again, some assumptions, but I sense it's right that he's on his own before his mum comes home. So although the question is just about the dog walking and the doggy care, I will actually again expand, because it's so important for Archie to be able to tell me how he feels about, in a way, his day for when he's on his own, which is what I sense with regards to the feeling that I'm getting that his mum is a little bit concerned, you know, that he's on his own, although he has these, you know, he has this arrangement. Yeah. So when you connect with Archie, literally visualize him at home, waiting to be collected or taken for the dog walking. Then check with him for him to show you what he enjoys about the dog walking. Even ask him, is he walked on his own or is he walked with other dogs? And then show him being brought back. Ask him to show you how he feels, what he does when he's home, the time between him, you know, him being at home and his mum coming home. And the same with the dog creche, you know, what does he do there? Does he have friends? Are there other dogs that he doesn't like? Is it noisy? Is it quite peaceful? Is it a big space? Is there outdoor space? Is there indoor space? You know, are there activities? Does he have fun? Are there certain humans he feels close to? So many questions, so many questions. I'm very nosy, so I like to know everything about the animal. So that's why but it just means that from one question that the human asks, you're really saying, I'm going to do a fuller picture for you, because you want to know how Archie is. So I'm going to really go all the way and share with you what Archie wants to talk about for that whole arrangement. Okay, so for question 2, I also want to make sure he's happy with the food I give him. Please, can you ask him to describe the taste, texture, and smell? So the second part of that question, I wrote that because his person wouldn't have said, please ask him to describe the taste, texture, and smell. That was me giving you a suggestion on what to do when someone wants you to check how their animal feels about food. So what I do with that is I ask Archie, I'll say something like, okay, it's time for your breakfast. First of all, I might actually say, do you have breakfast? Because I can't make any assumptions. So I might wait to see if I either get a yes or a no, or I might be shown food, or I might not be shown anything. So I'll make some kind of conclusions. So if I get shown nothing for breakfast, then I'll just say I don't sense that he has breakfast, and then I might wait and say, do you have a mid-morning meal, or lunch, or dinner? And then I wait to see what's presented to me, and then I'll ask for I'll just ask for information. So I'll just say, can you share with me the smell of the food that you are fed? Now, I'm not having expectations to identify the food itself, but what I'm waiting for is, will Archie share the smell of his food with me? And if he does, I would be interested in the emotion that's linked to that smell. Because if I sense that he's really excited, that means that food smells amazing for him. Or if he just goes, yeah, it's fine, the smell's fine, then I just know that, yeah, it's acceptable, but it's not something that excites him. Or I might even get whereby, he might just show me that he doesn't like the smell of that food. So smell is incredibly important to animals. That's why I'm interested. So asking about the smell, and you will have, you just have to trust that you can actually smell something, and don't again think that it's going to be smells that you can recognize. So don't be too concerned about like the specifics, but just almost like, oh, I think what was that? I just smelled something, and then just check what the emotion is related to the smell. And then say to Archie, okay, so this food that you're being fed, he might show you texture, he might show you color, but if he doesn't matter. You just kind of go through the process. Just say, right, when it's in your mouth, can you just share with me what it's like to chew on it? Is it chewy? Is it soft? Is it tough? Do you have to really chew? Or is it easy to just kind of swallow? What are you salivating? What is it like when you swallow? Does it go down easily? Does it go down, down into your stomach? And how does it feel when it goes down in your stomach? Does it feel easy, gentle, down into your small intestine, down into your large intestine? What's going on there? Even to the point where he might show you, I've had animals do that, what happens to the food when it pops out the other end. Okay, so for a question about food, again, you can expand it. So with the question, is he happy with the food I give him? Happy, I'm always, a little bit kind of reluctant to use the word happy for animals. I'll say to Archie, do you enjoy it? Hence the smell, the texture. Does it, is it enjoyable? When you swallow, does it feel comfortable and easy? When it's in your stomach, does it sit in your stomach comfortably, or does it feel a bit gripey, or does it feel a bit acidic? When it goes into your small intestine, you know, do you feel content, you know, in your digestive process? And then when it comes out the other end, does it feel comfortable? So that would be to do with how you would ask questions when it comes to food. Okay, so I hope that helps you with Archie. So I want to thank Archie for sharing that with me to share with you. Okay, so I think we're doing okay with time. Let's go to another one. Now, for those of you who have already communicated with the animals that come forward today, if there are things that I've said that you may not have, you know, perhaps communicated in a way, and you'd like to if you like to submit another one, then please do. Okay. I wonder if it's worth mentioning this, because somebody asked me about this. And it reminded me about my early days as well, which was, I used to think that when I connect with an animal, it's almost as if it's like a one chance, one time, you know, I have to do it all in one go, because my fear is that I would lose connection. Set the intention with the animal that if for any reason you feel as if after a few minutes you need to take a break, say to the animal, you know, I'd like to reconnect with you again, even to ask the same question and to go through it again, because I'd like to know if the answer is the same, if the experience and the information that I received first time round, is it confirmed the second time round, or is it different? So know that you can connect with the animal you know, several times, as long as you set the intention with that animal to do that. You may get a sense that some animals will, you know, just go, no, not today, I don't want to do it anymore, I just done it once and I'm, you know, and that's it. But some animals are incredibly patient, because these animals are in the practice den and they understand, and they've confirmed their role, you know, for you. All of them would be very happy to have a few sittings with you. So don't feel that you have to rush it, and don't feel that if you need to just kind of stop and then start again, checking your information at separate times, then do that. Okay. So, right, I'm getting Susie, who wants to come forward to have a chat. Okay, so Susie is 16 years old, and she's been with her family for 14 and a half years, and she likes running and being active. And these are her two questions. What does she need to maintain her physical health? Okay, so a very popular question, particularly with animals who are in their senior years. So how would you communicate a question in a way as broad as this? What does Susie need to maintain her physical health? You know, it's like, where do you start to ask her that? So so with Susie, I would first of all just do a kind of like a general check. I'll say to Susie, can you tell me how you're feeling physically, you know, generally? Do you have discomfort? Do you have aches and pains? Are you feeling quite agile? And then I become a little bit more specific. I might actually work from head to toe, so to speak, or head to tail. And I'll say to her, do you mind if I check you kind of from head to tail? Because we're looking at her physical health. So I'll start to focus in, and I'll ask her very specific questions. I'll say, right, I'm going to check your ears. What's going on with anything going on with your right ear? Anything going on with your left ear? Now you can do it verbally, or for some of you, you know, who can feel energy with your hands, okay, or your fingertips, you can kind of run it over the photograph and just, just allow yourself to be guided, so that if your hand stops on an area, just jot it down. Don't get caught up with trying to analyze it, because the minute you try and do that, you kind of stop the flow. So my suggestion would be, if you just run your hand over the animal, but be kind of very specific. So do ears, do eyes, do nose, do teeth, because I feel that with Susie, it's important to take some time and to really give her a very considered and careful examination of her physical body. So it's almost as if Susie was in front of me physically, I'd be, feeling her ears, checking her face, I'll be stroking her neck and shoulders, down her legs, and I'll be jotting it down as I go along. Anything that I just get a sense of, oh, okay, she's brought up about her left eye, say, and I'll just write it down, left eye. So I'm not going to question anything at this stage, because you don't want to stop your flow. Trying to overanalyze things and then kind of doubting, did I pick up left eye or did I pick up right eye? Like I say, you can always come back to Susie in 2 sittings. Actually, when it comes to checking an animal's health, I do like to do that in 2 sittings as a way of checking. So I'll do the first sitting, whereby I'll just jot down. Okay, I might go, oh, hang on, back left leg, or something around the the left shoulder, I might say, but I don't memorize that list, and then I'll put it to one side, and I'll just say to Susie, okay, I've done the first check. So maybe in an hour's time, or even the next day, I'll say to Susie, can I check you again? And then I'll go through the same thing, write it down, and then I'll look at the 2 lists together, bearing in mind that things do change, and then just see what consistently comes up. Because the thing that consistently comes up tells you that there's obviously, the areas that Susie can benefit from having some attention with. Okay, so then once you've done the check in this way, it helps you to therefore then answer the question, or ask Susie, what does she need to maintain her physical health? So let's say if you sense with Susie that actually her muscles are fine, but she might have some joint issues, then you can, check with Susie, does she have discomfort? Does she want anything to help with that discomfort? You could ask her, does she want natural remedies? Is she open to medication? And then it depends very much on you, because this is where the animal will tap into your knowledge and your skill. Okay, so say you are a canine massage therapist. So you hold in your knowledge, in your energy field, knowledge about, the skeletal structure, the muscular structure, trigger points. I'm just kind of reeling it off here. And it means Susie can really use your knowledge and can be much more specific about the kind of help she needs, if she needs massage, than say somebody else who doesn't have that knowledge, but maybe more into say supplementation. So say if they are a canine nutritionist, or they have knowledge to do with remedies and supplementation, and then you'll find that the animal will tap into the knowledge that you hold, which makes sense, because the animal's not going to ask you or communicate with you information that you don't hold. So that's why it's important to understand that you can't know everything. So sometimes an animal will communicate something to another communicator, and you might be thinking, oh, how come I didn't get that? Then check whether you hold knowledge about that, that subject. And if you don't, then that could be the reason why. Okay. So hopefully that will be useful for you with asking Susie what she needs for her physical health. So the second question that Susie has is, we are told she's a bit wobbly on her legs and her hearing can be a bit selective. So her human mum is saying any insight into these things would be great. Okay. So first of all, I will establish with Susie, are you, from your perspective, wobbly on your legs? Yeah, it's really important. Now, she might say, well, actually, it's not my legs, it's my lower back. Or she might say, it's my shoulder, which can't hold me up. So then it makes my legs look like they're wobbly. So can you see how important it is to not just take the question that you're given as straight into saying to Susie, oh, have you got wobbly legs? What's going on with there? Just say, number one, Susie, can you talk to me about, do you agree? Do you have wobbly legs? Is it both legs? Is it back legs? Is it front legs? Is that the, is that the origin? Is that what's causing your legs to be wobbly, or is there something else going on? Okay. And then something about her hearing. So with the hearing being selective, let's see how we can ask Susie that question. For me, I would want to experience it from Susie's perspective. So I would say to Susie, I think she's suggesting this because I've not done this before. Normally, what I would do is I would kind of ask the animal permission to kind of almost go inside their ears and just, see if they'll share with me what it's like to hear using their ears. But Susie is showing me, like, if I can just take her ears off and pop it on mine. See, I have to tell you what the animals say to me. So if you have experience whereby you're communicating with an animal and you think, I've just got this information and it's so silly, I'm going to make a fool of myself if I tell the owner that. Well, Susie is just using this as a demonstration that that's what I have to do. So she's just insisting that I literally energetically take her ears off her, because she doesn't, I feel like with her at the moment in time, and this is with me, so it'll be different with you, she doesn't really want me to energetically enter her body. So she's just saying, just take her ears off and stick it on mine. If you fancy trying that with Susie, I'll be really interested in knowing what that feels like. So yeah, so if she's telling me that, you just have to go with the flow, don't you? So I would, if I'm submitting a communication to her mum, energetically take her ears off and put it on mine, and then I'll and what I'll also do is perhaps offer Susie some options. For example, I might say, can you hear talking? What is it like to hear your family chatting? What is it like to hear the doorbell ring or the door knock? Because I guess unless you're just getting a whole lot of information from Susie, about what she can or can't hear, it's also useful to be more specific, because her family is obviously noticing that there are some things she hears and some things she doesn't. So be creative and imagine in her day-to-day what she would need her hearing for. So could it be other dogs barking? Could it be the sound of the car? Could it be somebody calling her? What if the Hoover was on? So then you get this full picture that, is she actually losing her hearing? Or are the sounds duller? Or, are they more muffled? Or is she just ignoring? Is she choosing to ignore some certain sounds? So yeah, you can actually do quite a lot with that question about her hearing, and that would, you know, give it from Susie's perspective as well. Okay. So I'm just looking at the time. So I hope you're all okay. I don't want to kind of overwhelm you. I do feel as if I might come to, let me just check to see if any of the other animals, yeah, Mimi is shouting at me. So, okay, we'll do one more. Okay, we'll do one more, and then I'll just check to see if any of you got any questions you want to ask me. So this is Mimi, who's age 6. And he's been with his family since he was 12 weeks old. And this is interesting one because of the type of questions that his person has given. So the first question is: are the people behind our back garden nasty to him? Yeah. So now, how would we communicate that to Mimi? For it to make sense to him, because you know neighbor is in the back garden, so, and these are the words that, you know, his person uses. So always start from the animal's perspective. So start off by what I would do, actually, because there's a few words in there that I'm going to share with Mimi. So for example, I'll say to Mimi, how do you know, what comes to you, or what can you share with me if I use the word nasty? Because always remember, you know, the terms that we use are very much human terms. Well, it is human terms. So I'll just check with Mimi first of all. If I use the word nasty, does that mean anything to you? And then just wait to see if you get a reaction from Mimi. I just got one, but I'm not going to share it because you're going to have to communicate with Mimi. So I don't want to share what I got. But I'm sharing it with you because Mimi says he will show you, you know, he will actually give you that information if you ask him, do you know what I mean when I say nasty? Because you've got to establish before you ask him that question, are you and him on the same page when you're describing a human emotion? Yeah. And then I'll ask him about, so then I'll say to him, show me your back garden, because I'm also interested. Show me your back garden, and then I'll ask him to show me whether there are people at the back of his garden. So I'll start with that as well. So I want to establish it from Mimi's perspective. And he may show me people, he may not show me people, he may show me another animal. So good to establish that first. So once you've established what nasty means to Mimi, whether there are people in the back garden, and then, you know, you then get a story from Mimi on that. And then the second question is, would he like a female cat at home for company? So I'll ask, number one, the question, how does he feel about being the only cat? So I'll start with that question. And then I'll also say to him, is he lonely? Does he get the attention he needs? Would he like more attention? Would he like less attention? You know, again, not making assumption that he always wants attention. And then I'll visualize perhaps another cat, female, and get a sense from Mimi. And then I'll also say to Mimi, if you could choose, you know, if you were to choose your own animal companion, what animal would it be? You know, let's surprise the person, because, you know, they're the ones that in a way are choosing for Mimi, that they're asking female cat. But let's ask Mimi, if she was to choose an animal companion, if he was to choose an animal companion, what would he choose? And this, even to the point of, you could say to Mimi, you know, do you want to describe this animal? in terms of character and personality, because that's really important. That's so important. Not so much in the way the species or the gender, but the personality, because will they get on together? So that would really expand the question of whether he would like another cat or animal companion for company. Yeah, okay. Right, so let me come out of sharing the den and just check to see if there are any questions for me. Let me go into the chat box. Just let me have a look to see if I can access the chat box and see. Okay, so that's great. Susie, I'm glad it resonates with you. Verena, oh, Verena, you're doing so well with your practice den. I'm very proud of you. So you find it helpful breaking down the communication. Excellent. Nikki, okay, she's going to catch up on the replay. And I think, I don't know who that is. It's just a code word on your video thing. Okay, so I think so far you're all finding it helpful. Oh, Leslie. Hi, Leslie. Yes, I know you. But yeah, I just got like this code thing. But yep, thank you for joining. So far, no questions. Can I see? But don't worry, if you have either pop it in the event page, I'll catch up with that. Or all of you, if you, okay, so this is the deal. For those of you who have communicated with the animals in the practice den, you will know that I will email you to acknowledge your submission, and then I invite you to join my Confidence Booster Facebook group, free until the end of August, so that I can support you further. I can make sure that if you've got any questions, you can access me easily, okay? So if you haven't yet practiced on an animal in the practice den, go for it. Just do just the one, and then I'd love for you to join, my group, because then you're with other like-minded learners. You're not on your own. This is the key. Okay, so let me just check. Elizabeth, hi Elizabeth. I know a lot of communicators say they feel an energy to know if they're connected with an animal. Okay, feeling, right. Let me understand what you mean about feeling. Do you mean like a physical sensation that you're connected with an animal? Okay. Let me know if that's what you mean. Okay. This really is something that I had to work through. It's a great question, Elizabeth. I'm really glad you're asking it. Yes, you're right. There are communicators who can just sense. They'll just have like a physical sign, or like a kind of vibration or a buzzing. Some people will describe that they might get goosebumps, or they'll just have some kind of fluttering in their solar plexus, just so that it's a confirmation that they've connected with the animal. Now, my own personal journey, when I started with animal communication, I didn't feel a thing. And it used to really worry me. I used to think, am I not connected with the animal? And the harder I try, you know what it's like, the harder you try, the more, it just goes out of your grasp. So I'm assuming, Elizabeth, you're asking this question because maybe you don't feel it, okay? Is to say to you, it's easy for me to say, don't worry. So my own journey was, I was always kind of almost striving to have this feeling. And the more I strived to have the feeling, the more blocked I became. Until one day I decided that I'm not going to go for the feeling, but I'm going to go for what works. And what works was, I would just do this kind of sense of focus, and I'll just set the intention, and I would just take it for granted that I'm connected with the animal, because my intention is strong and my intention is pure. Okay, so I just had to almost like make a decision that I, for some reason, am not that person that can feel it. And then it just improved because I focused more on intention and I just trusted the process. And then my verification process was the characteristics of the animal. I would get a sense of the animal. Either I visually see the way they are, be it playful, withdrawn, barking at me or hiding from me or being a bit of a strutter, you know, so I could get all that. So once I could get the characteristics, and you know, I then, to me, that's my confirmation that that's my connection. And in time, what I realized, and this might be helpful to you, Elizabeth, is that the more I opened up my intuitive senses to physical sensations, yeah, then I started to have a sense that I had a feeling when I was connected to an animal. And mine is usually I get a lot of like tingling, but I did not have any of that for 2 years, 2.5 years of me trying. Believe me, I tried for 2.5 years because I just almost like I envied the communicators that could feel it because it felt so special. But actually, I almost had to release that in order to focus on my intention, focus on my my intention, my purpose, and then in time I also practiced about, you know, opening up my intuitive senses to feel more physical sensations. So I hope that's helpful for you, Elizabeth. Okay, so somebody's saying, Susie, you're going to practice in the den tomorrow morning. Yes, good. You set the goal. Oh, yes, the name of the Facebook group is called Animal Communication Confidence Booster Group. Okay, Rebecca. So trust, the hardest part. Let's make it that it's not the hardest part. Yeah, you're in this, you're in the practice group. Say to yourself, until the end of August, you're going to make the decision that trust is not the hardest part. Just do it. And then, yeah, sometimes you just have to almost call its bluff. Yeah, you're supported and you're being guided right here, right now. So you can trust me to catch you. So you can, in a way, place some trust in my guidance. So that takes away that responsibility. Okay, and trusting the animals is a decision. When you sit with the photograph, you make a decision to trust the animal. So don't just think that trust is like something that will come to you. You actually have to like make a decision and just go for it. Okay. I do know it's easier said than done, but do it anyway. I'm here to support you. Okay, so let's see. Now, Susie, you're saying my block is I try to read the body language as opposed to communicating freely. Susie, if you communicate using photographs, you won't see any body language. You might try and read the photograph, their body language, but then just make sure you only use photographs of the animal's face and eyes. And if you're starting and you feel, you know, if you're really nervous about getting things right or wrong, then keep it simple in the sense that when you focus on the animal using the photograph, just say to yourself, I'm only going to spend 5 minutes. Put a timer, just 5 minutes. And if you get nothing for the 5 minutes, that's fine. After the 5 minutes, take a break. Then come back for another 5 minutes. If you want to go beyond 5 minutes because the information's coming through, that's great. But just to take that pressure off, because sometimes from what I remember, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself. Right, I'm communicating with the animal. I've got my pen. I've got my paper. Right, well, you know, I've got to almost like say subconsciously, I didn't realize I was doing this. It's almost like I've got to fill a page. Yeah. If you send me one line, if you send me one word, you've started. Okay. Right. So, see. Oh, you're welcome, Lauren. Thank you for being here. So, Adriana, you're saying it's losing a pet, it is so painful, and knowing that communication is possible gives us peace, knowing that they're fine. Yes. And that's really, in many ways, I've realized that this is why communicating with animals is so important, because the bigger picture is when they really need us, when they truly need us to voice what is so important to them. Yes, it's important for them to voice to us the food that they like, or the activities that they need, or the companionship that they need. However, to me, the most important aspect of what animals really want to, well, talking about pet animals here, who really want to tell us is when they're unwell, when they are at the end of life stage. So by practicing on their day to day, their routine things, gets you to the point where you believe, you trust, you know, so that when it comes to really honoring their wishes, when it's at their end of life, you know that, we know we can. So that's what drives me. That's what drives me. Okay, so Susie, that's it. I think that's all the chat for the now. But yeah, I don't want to keep you any longer. It's been wonderful to spend this hour with you. Just go for it for the practice then. My help is here, is free, end of August, only because I've dedicated July and August to just, to give this time to you. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving your journey. Please share with me. So go for it. Okay. So thank you very much for your time. There will be a recording link for this if you want to watch it again, or for those of you who haven't been able to join us, you can catch up. Okay. So I'm going to say goodbye now. Let's see if there's anything else. No. Thank you for all your beautiful wishes. Oh, hi, Maggie. Okay. I'm going to say bye now.